Okay, so going to start the meeting off today. This is the Board of Education of Frederick County Curriculum and Instruction Committee meeting. The first item on the agenda this morning is the public content. And this is comments addressed to the Curriculum and Instruction Committee. And they're invited by the public for approximately 3 minutes per person on a sign-up basis regarding topics on the agenda. Negative comments cannot be accepted regarding staff or personnel in the school system, and personnel matters are confidential and cannot be received through this kind of forum.
At this time, we have no public comment. No one signed up for public comment.
Okay. Nothing from. Okay. We just called for public comment. Is there anything that you have?
Are you going to open it public comment?
At this time, no, it's not according to the agenda, how it's going. This would be the opportunity for public
We
comment.
have other people checking in.
Okay. All right.
So let's revisit it.
Huh?
You can always revisit it at the end.
Okay. Okay. We can move it to the end. Would you go?
So Mr. J is okay with that?
Mr. J, are you okay with moving public comment to the end?
Actually, if it's just a public share, I have a 11 a.m. hard stop, so it's a public stop. I'd like to hear the possible other 11 a.m. hard stop. So.
All right, but you have an 11 o'clock hard stop? Okay.
Sound as a suggestion, you could go ahead and continue with board member comments.
Okay. All right. So, minutes from the February 8th meeting. Just have a motion to accept.
I accept.
Okay, thanks. Is there a second? A second? Meeting minutes are accepted.
Yeah.
Karen's here in spirit. Okay, are there board member comments?
Not this time, thank you.
Okay, so I can open it up to public comment again if there are public comments. No?
Okay.
How many more people are coming?
Someone was told to move her car, so she had to relocate her vehicle,
Okay,
so she should be here.
okay, all right. We're going to go ahead and start the presentation, but I'll give time at the end. Hopefully we'll wrap up before Mr. J has to log off. He wanted to hear public comments.
Yeah, great, thank you.
Okay. So we'll go ahead and get started for agenda item 1, which is proposed curriculum revisions, and it's presented by Colleen Bernard, Kim Day, and Stacy Sisler. Is that how you say it? Sisler?
Yeah, so just to give a little bit of background, once a year at the March meeting, we bring forward the vast majority of any curriculum changes, new courses or pilots that we're proposing, or any courses that we're discontinuing. And so you're going to hear a little bit of each of that today. After CNI has had discussion around those, these will move forward, and not at tonight's board meeting, but at the next scheduled board meeting for approval for the whole board, which is the March 22nd meeting. That goes on the consent agenda. And I know that Ms. Yoho probably, as she normally does, will notify all board members to let them know that there are things on here for review that will be on consent. So we'll start with proposed curriculum revisions, and I think we can go in the order that they appear in the document. And so our first one is environmental literacy pre-K through 12. So Kim.
Good morning, I'm Kim Day. I'm the Elementary Social Studies Curriculum Specialist. I put forward a revision to the environmental literacy standards. The reason for the revision is that COMAR regulation was updated, and these are part of COMAR regulation. So they were reduced from 8. They used to have 8 standards, and now there are 5 standards. which just helps to streamline the process and it reduces redundancies from other content areas, especially in science where there were some redundancies in those particular standards. So now there's only 5 instead of 8.
Yep.
The programming really doesn't change very much. The content is pretty much the same.
And so that if you notice in Appendix 1, page 101 is the environmental literacy standards laid out there. At this time, we could entertain any questions.
Still this time, thank you.
So I do have one question. Do you know why that was reduced?
Yeah, so there was, they had been in place for probably over 10 years. And so periodically, MSDE does, look at standards and revise them based off of, time. But the next generation of science standards has now been implemented, across the country. And there were some redundancies there. So there was no need to have it in both places. So they reduced, and they just streamlined some of the language in the standards.
They're not new,
They're not new, they're just revised.
By the way, reduction in standards from the state is a rare event. So
It
we're
is
celebrating.
rare, but they really were trying to streamline the process.
We're like, wow, you are
and
amazing.
reduce
Okay.
redundancy. There's no reason for the same sort of content to be in 2 different places from the state perspective and from our perspective as well.
okay. I'm good. I don't have any more questions at this time.
Okay, so if there's no additional questions, we can move to the next item.
Okay.
Okay, so the next category is secondary mathematics. So I'll turn it over to Stacy Sisler.
Thank you. I'm Stacy Sisler. I'm the secondary math curriculum specialist, and the course that we are bringing to you today for revisions is a course called Contemporary Math with Modules. This course has historically served as a transition course for students in their senior year. It contains what the state deems non-trivial algebra standards and also work with personal financial literacy. And our revision is really to strengthen the connection between those 2 sets of standards and very specifically identify the personal financial literacy standards that are supported by the course to make it a stronger experience for our seniors and a more real life-based experience for them with the connections between algebra and finance. Also, as part of the revision, we're proposing a name change for the course to be reflected in school year 24-25 to the name Contemporary Financial Algebra, which more accurately describes what students will really be interacting with in that course. Appendix 2 has quite a list of the algebra standards that are included in that course, as well as the personal financial literacy standards that will be included in the course as well.
All right, Mr. J, do you have any questions?
Hi, thank you for doing. So the course seems wonderful on the face of it. Going through the standards for the contemporary finance side of things, there's some overarching things that I see that kind of like maybe nebulous, allows teachers a little bit of flexibility, which is good. But I had questions about the building wealth and taxes. Something about taxes in here. Will that come up at all?
Give me a second. I'm scrolling through the appendix to get to those standards. So I would say, yes, taxes are going to come up in the course. The standards that are listed here do exactly what you indicated. They provide some generalities of the way the personal financial literacy information is tackled, and it leaves some autonomy for how teachers interpret those standards. But when I look at, for example, planning and managing money or relating careers, education and income, making informed financially responsible decisions, the way that we handle our taxes and our responsibility with reporting that information and how we report that information, all clearly falls in those more general topics. I can also tell you the resource that we've chosen and has already been approved by Frederick County Public Schools to use in some other areas where personal financial literacy is addressed includes specific modules that contain tax information and teaching students about how to handle their taxes and report their taxes and how to set aside income for taxes and things like that. So it will be addressed. It just isn't outlined as specifically in these standards because these are the overarching standards that support the course.
Sure. Okay, and I won't get further down the news, but because it's being covered is important. Just without getting too far down the news, could you give me some general touch points on what we're going to hear about on Standard 5, creating wealth?
So in terms of creating wealth, the conversation is really focused about how they can start to support themselves early with early saving and long-range planning. So they have to think about, I have a job right now. There are certain goals that I might have that are short-term goals, like saving up for a new car or a better car. But then there are long-term goals, like saving for a house or an apartment and what those costs might be. And even longer range might be in terms of retirement. And sometimes we have adults and citizens who wait a long time before they start saving for retirement and they're in a crunch. And the messaging here is when you start early, even just a little bit at a time, that will accumulate over time to help you prepare yourself for later in life when you reach that point when you're making retirement decisions.
Did I hear anything about stocks or about options?
I can't answer that completely. It may be something that the teacher with the autonomy that they have in the course might introduce to students. But certainly when we talk about savings plans, there's lots of options for how we save. It's not just a traditional savings account at a bank anymore. So I'm sure there will be exploration around all the different ways that that we save money and all the different options that exist.
Well, saving is 5A's focus, but 5B is focused on wealth building strategies directly. So it's more about multiplication of wealth. So not this time, but I would love a report back about especially doing support teachers in the classroom with this one about what we're doing for 5B in particular for wealth building.
I can do that for you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yes, anything else? I have a couple questions.
Mhm.
First of all, I find it, and I'm just gonna put this out there, that algebra and financial, like planning or wealth and all of these topics, they don't seem to mesh. So now, how does that work? Where you have like part of the course that you're focused on algebra and then the other part of the course that you're focused on
Really,
the financial literacy.
part of the revision of the course is to making that a more meaningful connection. And one of the ways that we do that is through some of the standards of mathematical practice, specifically around modeling with mathematics and recognizing structures in mathematics. So for example, when we're talking about, Mr. J mentioned creating wealth and building assets is multiplicative, that can be represented by exponential functions. And so our work around exponential functions in algebra will connect to building and creating wealth in terms of the financial lens. So it's a much more natural connection to the algebra that supports what we see with finances.
That's really good because I could have used that.
I could have too.
Obviously, yes, I could have used that because my next question was like, are there real, I would say life scenarios that are going to be used for this so that, when you look at an Excel spreadsheet and you put together your wealth plan, okay, you're going to want to understand those formulas that you need to use in order to get to your goal. To see that.
Absolutely.
Long-term,
It definitely is based in those real life scenarios and then how the mathematics supports understanding and modeling those real life scenarios and what will happen in those scenarios.
Because I look at, one of the things that I think students, entering out of college and into a career now are really facing are the debt that they,
Yes.
if they really understand. Like you said, if you have real life models, like this is what it's gonna look like when you exit with $100,000 worth of debt,
Yes.
you know? So this is where you need to be.
Well,
All right.
Ms. Allen, if I could add to, students now who are acquiring skills in the trades are also doing the cost analysis of, if I leave high school with a trade and I earn for 4 years, how does that impact my overall wealth compared to going to school, having debt, paying debt off after I'm employed? So it's part of our goal to kind of destigmatize the trades as viable options for students to move into high paying careers. And so that could be part of that conversation as well.
All right, that's great. Great. Thank you. Appreciate it.
So the next item is in secondary social studies. So I'll turn it over to Colleen Bernard.
Well, as we're talking about personal financial literacy, how serendipitous. Thank you, Stacy, for helping me frame the reasons why we would like to expand access to the social studies course for personal financial literacy. We have a number of courses in FCPS that meet the state requirement for PFL, and we also have PFL embedded in our core program. This is a course that specifically meets the requirement, and it was originally, when it was put forth, it was open to 10th through 12th graders. We received a number of requests from schools for more fluidity and options, so it meets that in scheduling. And I think perhaps we can agree that the earlier we can get to students about their personal financial literacy, the better. And so I'm asking the board to open the course for 9th graders. It's developmentally appropriate for them, the materials that are used in the course. Any questions?
Mr. J, do you have any questions on that?
It's not this time, please.
I don't either.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We are going to move on to proposed new courses. Kim, I think all you had was
I just
that.
had this one.
You're welcome to run the plan or stay for the fun.
Alright.
All right. So when we bring forward to the board new courses, these would be included in our course guides. And we have a number of folks reporting today, so we'll just simply go in order. Proposed new course for 24-25, secondary mathematics. I'll turn it back to Stacy.
Okay, so we're actually proposing work with 2 new courses for our future. One of them is Advanced Placement Pre-Calculus. It's a course that's designed and already piloted this school year through College Board. They are sharing that the AP Pre-Calculus course is really a first AP experience that prepares students for college coursework and those college experiences around higher level mathematics. It contains the standards and skills that mirror our pre-calculus course in FCPS, but again, it serves as a foundational AP experience for students. And there's some research around what experiences in AP courses can do to prepare students for post-secondary education. I also believe in terms of the blueprint for Maryland's future, and when we look at post-secondary pathways, adding an AP pre-calculus course strengthens our mathematics offerings for students who might pursue an AP pathway in their post-secondary pathways as high school students. The second course that we're proposing is a year-long geometry course, which would actually be part of our support pathways. When we think about our students who come to us who have significant needs that don't necessarily go away as they travel through elementary and middle school and even into high school in an algebra course, the year-long geometry course would be designed to continue to help support students with a graduation requirement course in ways that our typical geometry course does not currently support them. The standards are the same. It's the instructional design that will be different, including making it a year-long course as opposed to just a semester course, but still providing an experience for students that keeps them on grade level content and on track for graduation.
Do you have any questions, Mr. J?
No, it sounds good. I love courses, supporting students with real-time geometry. Also, I could think that for students who are taking, calc, I think it's a good add-on for them to be prepared for that next level. So thank you.
So, I'm sorry, you may have already stated this, but when does the pre-calculus, when does that offering start?
That offering is going to start in school year 24-25.
But what grade level?
It would be open to any student who's completed Algebra 2,
Okay.
which could be a variety of students. We have students even in middle school who take geometry, and we actually have a handful, very small handful, who take Algebra 2 as 8th graders. So even 9th graders could access AP Pre-Calculus. Probably more traditionally, we're looking at juniors, but it's really an opportunity open for any student who's completed Algebra 2.
Do we not offer pre-calculus at any time?
We have a pre-calculus course in FCPS right now that a lot of students access. And we have done some preparatory work behind the scenes, just comparing what that experience looks like compared to the AP experience. And they're very similar. A little bit of focus shift, something that's mandatory in the AP course might be an optional unit of instruction that teachers could choose in our pre-calculus course, but they're very similar experiences. It does carry, everything that AP has to offer in terms of resources for teachers, resources for students, and opportunity for credit, college credit in high school that our FCPS pre-calculus course does not offer.
So one more question. So taking these AP courses, does that help in any of their qualifications? So if they go on to higher education, does that exclude them from having to take that math, criteria, or that math, is this a prerequisite kind of thing?
Yes.
Where,
Yep,
in order to
given
go-
given that they meet
I'm not
an
spitting
acceptable,
it out right
yeah, no, I understand. No, when they meet an acceptable score on their AP test and public institutions of higher education in Maryland accept 3s and higher. So as long as they have an acceptable score, then they earn that college credit, and that fulfills a math credit when they transfer to a 4-year college or a 2-year college.
Ms. Allen, we always encourage families that if they have an institution or a couple of colleges that they're interested in,
Yes.
to really reach out and see what they specifically request. Because some institutions love AP and would love to see more on your transcript. Others are indifferent to it and may not award credit. And so we always tell in our advising process, if you have schools in mind that you're looking at, find out what they're interested in and plan your college accordingly. But either way, it's a great opportunity for rigorous access for our students. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then, I hated algebra, but I love geometry. So, and again.
It usually is a love-hate relationship that way. Yeah.
But again, I would, one of the things I think when I was going through school and, that real life scenarios of how this is applicable. Because, you hear people when they get out of school and they're like, I'm never going to use this again. But, you really do. There's a lot that is, you'll find that, in your work experience as you go along, that you need to have those basic applications and understand.
Yeah, it's a goal of all of our math courses to really give students opportunity to transfer their learning in those meaningful ways.
Okay.
Excellent. Okay. So we're going to move over to our next category, which is secondary science. So Colleen Beal, turn it over to you.
Good morning, I'm Colleen Beal, Secondary Science Curriculum Specialist. The course that I'm proposing is Advanced Science Topics. It is a half-credit upper-level science elective targeted to our 11th and 12th graders. And it'll be a course that'll dive into high-interest topics that we may not have had time or standard alignment to cover in depth in our core courses. It'll provide a science option for students who are seeking out another 0.5 credit option to maybe pair with their 11th grade health option or anything else just to round out that schedule. The course will center on 3 topics. one from life science, one from earth space science, and one from physical science. Our curriculum writers are designing an extensive menu board right now of topics that the teacher and the class can select from. So some of the choices are, like in life science, identification of flora and fauna, or marine ecology, or interdisciplinary or botany. In earth and space science, paleontology, landform geology, volcanology, who doesn't love a good volcano, agronomy, if you're into soil, physical science, material science, organic chem, electricity, magnets, induction. So we have this menu board that we are building. And the course could look different term to term. It could look different school to school, but it's all focused on, they'll have a life science, physical science, and earth space experience. But if you have a kid who signs up, they're like really into black holes, and then the class doesn't choose that, we don't want them to get a little grumpy and disengaged. So they will be picking a topic. Every kid will do their own independent project and study throughout the term. And so there's all kinds of opportunities, and then they will present that at the end of the term as a poster session. So I'm seeing lots of science fair projects coming out of that, and just a love of science. Because we're hoping that this might wet the whistle of some of the kids and introduce them, because maybe they're in a course that is diving in a little bit more into chemistry or material science or something like that, and they're like, oh wow, hey, maybe I could take this, next year. So that is just like a general what we're envisioning. We're really excited. I have some wide range of curriculum writers who are helping with this. We're really excited.
Mr. J, do you have any questions?
Oh, I do.
I have a feeling this would pique your interest.
Yeah.
Good morning, Mr. J.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Thank you. Wait for the announcement to go off. So, this is an awesome course. The first question I had is, you know, I said it before, who's it open to for us grade lines?
11th and 12th.
12, okay. And then, so I had a question I was thinking earlier, I don't know if I got to you all. Is there going to be any discussion in the course about grant writing and getting published?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Grant writing and getting published. Will students go over like how to get published and how to write grants?
Right.
The art of being a scientist.
Yes. We don't have that directly built into this, but I think especially if you had a student who's doing research and everything like that, the teacher could assist with that. And that might be something that they choose to do as their topic, is how do you because scientists rely a lot on grants, and we don't touch on that as much. But that is an interesting perspective. Thanks.
When I read the course, overview, I just got super excited because this is like, this is course to me, it really the scientists. This is all the same. So I think the natural progression would be that you get them to really looking at, if they don't do it, just to learn how do you publish or how do you secure grants for funding. We're going to build our own here. This will be amazing. I'm really excited about the course as well. I think it also lends itself really well to like having really meaty science fair projects being shown at science fair as well. Teaching this person really dig in and producing really great work. So I'm a little nasally. It's not COVID. But this is a super great, awesome course. So thank you for offering this.
So this currently is not an offering, but if approved, it will be an offering for 11th and 12th grade.
Yes, school year 24-25.
So say it's approved, we'll say we're moving forward. When a student signs up for this course, will there be curriculum that's already built that they'll understand this is what the content of the course is? Or is this, we're just going to use this outline with, those parameters saying this is, these are the 3 areas that this course is going to touch on, and these will be your opportunities within the course.
But we want to keep it open-ended like that because we can see us developing too, because science is constantly being changed with research and everything like that. So we can see our menu board changing as well. And when teachers are advertising for it, I'm sure that they will highlight different topics too. So that's why I wanted to keep it general.
And Ms. Allen, one of the things that happens in our high schools, this is an elective course, is that your teachers who are talking to students are going to start to sell this course and talk about how they're going to approach it at the various high schools. And so students who have these types of questions would be able to ask us, hey, what are we going to do in this? Can you tell me about it? So, I think it's just like any other elective. There's a lot of salespersonship, so to speak, that goes into drawing kids into courses. And we anticipate that same phenomenon would occur with this particular course. And of course, the best salespeople we have are when students have taken it their first time and then recommend it to friends. Oh, you should take this class. It's great. You pair it with your health class. It's awesome. So we think that's going to be the response to it.
Okay. I was thinking along the line, parents who might want to encourage their student to,
Yes,
get it all.
yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
All right, great. Thank you.
So our next new course is under secondary social studies. So back to Colleen Bernard.
So this course is just the description is what we're bringing forward to the committee today. This course in concept was previously approved by the board and funded through ESSER grant, the creation of the course. The group worked on the course last summer and developed this description for the course. And the reason we're following the same pattern of course development that we did with the Black and African American Studies course. We first came to the board, had the course concept approved, then we came to the board again and had the course description approved because our timeline for course guides starts in August. So if we want this course to run in school year 24-25, we need to have that description in place. And then from there, we have another year of course build out when it comes to writing the actual curriculum standards, which again, we will bring to the board for approval. So what we're asking for right now is approval of the course description so that we can move forward with our work this summer in building the course curriculum.
So this is the United States Women's History. Is that what the one you're talking about there? Okay. And that will go before the board, you're saying, on March 22nd. Is that
We
correct?
would be seeking approval for this description.
Right.
If the board's okay with how it's laid out, then the summer curriculum, staff would then
You start building.
flesh out the standards and what specifically do these large topics break down as. And then those would come back in spring of next year for approval for the curriculum standards, which is responsibility of our board. And you're looking to run in 24-25?
24-25. And then there would also be textbook approval.
Textbook.
Once standards are approved, we roll into the textbook approval.
So, Mr. J, do you have any questions on this agenda item?
No question, just a comment. I'm glad to see it moving forward. I know there was a concern about funding for this, that came up, so I'm glad to see it's funded. I think it'll be a great course for our young ladies to take in for our young ladies to learn more about women in the country. So, I support the course and look forward to see it grow. Thank you.
So my only question is this driven by student request? I know sometimes things are developed based on, the feedback from the students, understanding, getting to meet their needs.
So when we went down this a number of years ago, we asked our students, we put out a survey into the field, and we asked our high school students, what other topics would you like to see? Remember, this is an elective course for high school students. What other elective courses would you like to have an opportunity to access? And this is one of a number of elective courses, the Black and African American Studies course also being another one that students selected that they wanted. And then what's also important is to have the staff to be able to deliver the course with fidelity. And so we also asked our staff, what areas would you like to see? And so this was also one of the courses that staff endorsed.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I think that's it for new courses. And so again, if you're done, you're welcome to go, but you can stay for the rest of the show. And then the only other section that we have here are courses recommended for discontinuation. And our first one is in secondary social studies.
All right, so we're recommending the discontinuation of what comprises our year-long AP World History course. This is a relic of our old way, it's a relic of AP's old curriculum for this course, which used to be from dirt till now. It is now a contemporary and modern history course that starts a lot further into the history and could actually be covered in a full semester. It's also a relic of our old high school sequencing, where modern world history was our 10th grade course, and this would have been the first AP course in our AP program in social studies. Since that time, since the time of the creation of this course and use of this course, first off, very few schools even ran it year-long. They just don't have the sections and kids' schedules for students to take it year-long. So most of them jammed it all into one semester to begin with in 10th grade. Once we moved modern world history to 11th grade, there is never in that schedule for a year-long course, nor is there a necessity now that we are onboarding students earlier to the advanced placement program through our year-long advanced placement U.S. history course, which again, the whole intent of this year-long AP World History courses, this is their first AP course, and the history part is when we're teaching content, and the seminar part is when we're teaching them how to write and do AP. It's no longer necessary for 11th graders who have had early access on the history courses prior to that. We now have a robust offering of AP from 9th grade on. So I'm asking for it to be discontinued. I also conferred with department chairs at the high school level, and they said, yes, let's go ahead and discontinue.
Because it's functionally, what I'm understanding is it's pretty much discontinued anyway, so why have it appear to be a choice in the course guide if it's not even gonna run that kind of more transparency to the community? Hey, I wanted that course. Well, if we know every year we have a very few students who actually elect to tally for it and it doesn't run, then it's really a false choice. It's just not an option.
But we are preserving the one semester AP course,
Correct.
which does run
Okay,
extensively in the
thank you.
county.
So to be clear, it doesn't reduce the offering of APs. It's just the structure of year-long is what we're walking.
Okay, so you're reducing it from year to semester.
Well, it was already running.
Well, it was already running as a semester. That's the only way people have been running it.
Okay.
The schools have been running it. It's just as the semester course for years now.
Did you have any questions, Mr. J?
So not really a question, but just possibly a comment, suggestion. I think it's depends on like branding and marketing. I think we rarely ever get rid of any kind of learning styles, more so consolidation. And so when I read through documents earlier, it seemed to me more like consolidating than too much discontinuation. But the courses we're still offering information in different courses in different ways. And so I think, just for the community's sake, so they don't think we're getting people the knowledge to consolidate the course in another fashion, possibly. So I support the move. I just think we should look at the branding. So,
Thank you.
There you go. Okay. So the other courses slated for request to discontinue is in our English learner program. So Dr. Gall, I'll turn it over to you.
Hi, so we're going to discontinue or request that we discontinue these courses because they're really redundant. Our English learner students take English 9A, 9B, English 10, and American Studies 2, the regular courses. And so these classes are not necessary because our students are taking the regular courses. These courses traditionally had the same standards, same expectations, same everything as the other courses. And so because they're redundant, we just don't need them.
Do you have any questions, Mr. J? Not?
I do not.
My only question is, if we have a student who enters Frederick County Public Schools in the 9th grade, how do we manage or handle if English is not their first language?
That is a great question, and the English Learner Program has all types of course offerings that we support these students at all different language levels, from newcomer, which is what you're referring to, all the way through our advanced English learner students. And so we have a wide variety of courses that we can offer them and support.
So I guess what I'm hearing is that if a student who does not have English as their first language, and they enter in the grade school, elementary level, that by the time they're in ninth grade, they're proficient enough to be sitting in the regular classroom under the regular curriculum.
And we also have students that are entering at the high school level, but we have English learner teachers who co-teach these courses. And so they will be working with that general educator who's teaching like English 9. They're co-teaching with them. They're providing scaffolds and supports that are all evidence-based on best practice for English learner students.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing to stress here is that even though these course titles are being eliminated, services are still in place for these students at a robust level. It's not about a change in service. We wouldn't want the public to think, oh, they're taking away a service. It's just really the elimination of these structures.
Okay. Thanks for clarifying.
Any additional questions? We're good? Thank you, Steph. Appreciate it.
So, I think we're at the point where we can open up for public comment. So, do we have public comment? And Mr. J, you have enough time, right? We've got about 20 minutes.
I do. Yes, yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. Anybody have public comment? There's no public comment. Future agenda topics?
So if we look ahead to February, Ms. Bingman will be bringing information about the accelerated learning process.
Intervention.
Oh, I'm sorry, April.
Intervention.
Yeah, well, we did that in February.
Yeah, we did
that.
No, it's,
Unless she wants me to do it again.
Yeah.
I gotta eat a cup of.
Hey, it's less work. I don't have to create another presentation.
Well, it was so good the first time, Jen. We just thought you'd bring it back. All right, so visual performing arts, I think that's gonna be an exciting update. There's a lot of great things happening in the arts now in Frederick County. Public schools always has been, but I think the move out of COVID and the return to performances and those types of things have been very exciting. There's been a lot of expansion at the high school of the performance opportunities. That'll all come to light, and then Ms. Bingman will be sharing information around intervention. I looked at your name first, that's what I did.
You just assume.
Yeah, and then looking out ahead, we'll have mathematics updates in May 3rd, and we may have another item for you at that time. It's only one agenda item at that point. So we'll look across our ACTS division, which are all the departments under Dr. Marco. And if anybody feels they need to get some timely information to the C&I committee, we'll add it on that May 3rd date, but we'll let you know at the next meeting.
Are there any questions? Anybody?
Yep, we're good. That was efficient.
Yeah. Thank you. So, adjourn?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.